What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Point. I'm your host, Ana Kasparian, and we are doing something a little different today. Usually we have a panel on, we talk about salacious topics that are probably going to go viral, but today we're going to talk about something completely different, and we're going to have an awesome guest on. One of my absolute favorite podcasters on this planet, Joe Rogan, who is a man of many talents, probably the most intellectually curious person I've ever met or heard of. So I'm fangirling right now. I hope you're not embarrassed.
Well, I'm fanboying, so we're all right.
Awesome. So I actually went on your podcast. When was it? I think it was in November of 2013, and I was so nervous because you do a 3-hour-long podcast with no breaks, no script, no prepared questions. You just have people on to talk, which makes people nervous, no?
I don't think so. I mean, I would hope they don't get nervous.
I got nervous. But it ended up being completely fine. But here's the thing. If you are not genuine with your audience as like a public figure or something, and you go on your show, or if that person goes on your show, damn, like you will be outed quickly.
Yeah, you can only BS for so long. It's tough to, you could BS for like a 7-minute segment on the Tonight Show or something along those lines. But when you do 3 hours with no break, uncensored, and also live,
yes.
There's no editing, it's streaming to Ustream.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could get exposed.
And I love how there are other influences that might maybe hinder the performance of someone on your show.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, that's good too. Get them all doped up so they don't know
Yes.
exactly what they're saying.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually listened to your podcast with Shane Smith, which was one of my favorite podcasts. And what I loved is in the beginning, it was like this super intellectual, interesting conversation. And you can hear him drinking and getting more and more belligerent throughout the show. So toward the end, it was like, stuttering and mumbling and everything. But he was still a super interesting guest. But I love that. That's what rocks about podcasts. It's just so laid back.
Yeah, there's no producers or network or notes or direction. You just kind of, it's a conversation. Like the term interview, I don't like that term that much. I like listening to interesting people talk.
Yep.
And I think that a conversation is really where it's at. And Shane and I have had some pretty wild ones. Mm-hmm. Shane and I got blackout drunk once. I mean, blackout drunk to the point where I called his friend and I was screaming and yelling at his friend and telling him I loved him or something like that. I literally to this day don't remember it. Yeah. But everybody's like, it was so fucked up when you called Shane's friend. I was like, what are you talking about? I called Shane's friend? Like I literally didn't even remember calling him.
But I think that's the reason why your podcast is so popular, and I think that's also the reason why there's like widespread appeal to a show like the Young Turks, because there is no script, you're allowed to be yourself, and we're not fucking perfect, we're not robots. You watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever it is, any type of traditional media outlet, and you see robots reading a script, and I think with new media, people are just themselves, and there's something really appealing to that.
Yeah, because you know that those people, those robots, aren't really robots. They're just acting like robots on that show. It's like, who the fuck are you for real? Yeah. Anderson Cooper, giggling at vaginas. What's going on, sir?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like everyone has their pro game face on, and that pro face is weird. If you had that guy or not Anderson, he's great. I'm not picking on him. But anybody, if you had them over your house and they were talking to you like this, you'd be like, get that fucking weirdo out of my kitchen. This is too strange to have some person talking like fake and professional. And I think that the fake and professional way of talking, and especially like politically, I think it's on the way out. I think slowly but surely. I think Obama is the least fake and professional president that we've ever had. Like he's the most, he lets you behind the curtain more than any of them. But he still gives those speeches where he has these big pauses that don't make sense.
Yes.
And if you were talking to a person and they did that to you, you'd be weirded out.
So, in terms of politics, I definitely have my issues with Obama. But the one thing that I will say that I favor Bush for compared to Obama is his speech delivery. So you watch Obama give a speech, right? And it's like you're watching your college professor, the most monotonous college professor on the planet. Even if he's saying something super interesting and important, you can't stay awake because of those long pauses and because of the fact that he's trying to seem as though he is that robot, right? But with Bush, even though he was a fucking moron, he was entertaining. Like he was definitely more interesting to watch than Obama was. And it was because he had that personal element. That's why a lot of people voted for him. him. He was the guy that people wanted to have a beer with. I'm not saying that that was a good reason to vote for him, but he was more personable. And I think Obama kind of lacks that element.
Yeah, I think rather than being a moron, I think what really was going on with Bush was that he never had to work hard. I think that he is one of those guys that his dad was, you know, Herbert Walker Bush, the big Bush, and he kind of grew up this privileged child, and, you know, he failed his way to the top, and then all of a sudden he was the president. He didn't develop character. He didn't really understand, like, how to rise to the occasion, dealing with the pressure. He's just a different kind of a person, and I think it's an interesting character study more than anything, because I think he's the first, like, silver spoon president. And because of that, he was just, I don't know if he was dumb as much as he didn't try hard.
Yeah, he didn't have to try hard. That's actually a really great point. You know, growing up, I certainly wasn't dirt poor, but my family definitely struggled. There were moments when I realized that I was in a lower class than other classmates and other peers. And I think back at that, and I'm really thankful for it. There was a point where my family couldn't even afford meat. And I remember as a kid asking my mom, like, Mom, you know, the other kids always have sandwiches with meat in it. Like, how come we don't have meat? And she was like, oh, we're trying to eat healthy. And later on I found out we just couldn't afford it, right? And I'm grateful for those experiences because it does force you to rise to the occasion and work hard and like build a better life for yourself. So I don't know, I don't know where I'm going to be financially when I have kids, but I'm going to make them think they're poor. Right?
I do have kids, and my kids know we're not poor, so I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's. But I know
give them meat in their sandwiches, and they'll be like, "What happened to the meat?"
Yeah, I see what you're saying though. That adversity builds character, and you know. But I think that if you communicate with children, you kind of explain to them what's going on. I think there's some benefit to that. I don't know if you can recreate real actual poverty. I think real actual poverty, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in it, but I don't know if that's the only way to develop character. I think there's probably other ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you are in a higher socioeconomic status, you can make your kids work for certain things. Don't hand them everything on a silver platter.